but he was a very, very much a pretty boy, and he did not inspire the fear. When you looked into the face of this monster, you're just kind of, oh, you're so flippin' cute. Hey legends, welcome along to the show. This is Here's Rodder's Reviews, the show that loves all things entertainment, shares that love with you. I am your host, Rodney Stewart. Now we're getting into the Hammer collection once more, and this is a little movie from 1970 called The Horror of Frankenstein. And this one here, for a lead character in a movie, I kind of like there to be a little bit of, you know, something that you can like about the character. Even though the character of Victor Frankenstein is a psychotic friggin' scientist that's trying to resurrect the dead, you kind of want something to be, you know, likeable about him. But the lead character in this, Ralph Bates as Victor Frankenstein, is highly unlikable. Didn't like him in the slightest in this movie. I found him very, very irritating, but as you get through the movie you can see why his character is kind of like that. It also stars Kate O'Mara, Veronica Carlson, Dennis Price, John Finch, Bernard Archard, Graham James, James Hayter, Joan Rice. This is getting into real back characters as well. The monster in particular is the highlight of this movie, because whenever I started watching this movie, and I'm the same with pretty much everything that I'm reviewing at the point I sit down and watch it. I don't want to go into it with any spoilers. I want to go into it and just enjoy the movie for what it is. And it's very, I would say, over 3/4 of the way into the film before you actually get to see the monster. And the monster isn't really scary in this movie, but when I seen who it was, I was just like, that face is so flippin' familiar. And it turns out it's Darth Vader himself. David Prowse is Frankenstein's monster in this movie. And of course you're probably sitting thinking to yourself, David Prowse? You recognised his face? How could you recognise his face? It was underneath a mask the whole time. And even in Return of the Jedi, whenever they unmasked Darth Vader, it wasn't David Prowse that was actually playing the unmasked Vader. Well, when I was a kid, kind of before my time, well, actually I think it was before my time, and if not, I was incredibly young. But I can remember my brother saying at one point when I was watching Star Wars, he was like, that's the Green Cross Code, man. And I'm like, who's the Green Cross Code, man? And it wasn't until it was actually shown on TV, because whenever I was a kid there was no internet, there was no running and checking things up. If you wanted to find something out, you know, you couldn't like go on to Google and just say, give me my mobile telephone and we will work out what is going on here. So he had told me this for years, the Green Cross Code, man, and I looked it up online. I did see it on TV one night, and it was like an advertisement for children crossing the road. That was called the Green Cross Code. Just stop, look and listen when you're crossing the road. And it was this guy, he was kind of like a superhero that turned up. You know, kids would be standing on the side of the street and they're about to cross the road and we're not really sure how. And this guy would turn up and he'd have like a superhero costume on him. I do recall it was like green and white, kind of like a Superman sort of thing, but there was no cape. But he had this like symbol on his chest anyway, and like, you know, of course, you know what Darth Vader's bald is, so he turns up and, you want to cross the road? Do you know the Green Cross Code? Right, we're getting completely off track here. We're over 4 minutes into this review and I haven't got into the film whatsoever. This is a different take on Victor Frankenstein. It picks up with him as a teenager in high school. He's a genius, of course, and you find out just how evil a person he is when he kills his own father so he can inherit the title and the fortune to go to university to further his education, to figure out how he can actually learn how to resurrect the dead and whatnot. So he goes off, learns a little bit more at university, drops out, brings one of his college mates back with him, starts setting up in their castle, and he gets a guy to go out and start stealing body parts, and he starts to build this monster. And he has everything, his whole lab set up in a genius way to get rid of unused body parts. He's got like a big vat where he pours in like acid into the top and does away with flesh and stuff that he doesn't need, which plays a big part at the end of the movie. So eventually he gets the monster built. Along the way he kills different people that find out the secret and what he's doing. The grave robber that's stealing the body parts for him, he ends up getting into the vat, acid poured in, gets rid of him, and yes, when he does eventually get the monster up and going, and David Prowse as the monster is hilarious, because Frankenstein's monster should be a creature that inspires fear in people whenever you see him, but David Prowse, in all fairness, at the time this film was made, he was a huge hulk of a man, giant, tall, muscular, but he was a very, very much a pretty boy, and he did not inspire the fear. When you looked into the face of this monster, you're just kind of, oh, you're so flippin' cute. But yes, by the end of the movie, Victor Frankenstein's kind of using the monster to pick people off that are going to out a secret and whatnot. And it's actually the grave robber's wife that comes to the castle to figure out where her husband went, because as far as she's concerned, he went out and just completely disappeared, and the last place he was going was to Victor Frankenstein's place with body parts, because she was in on it. He was out digging up graves, she was in there to the elbows with him, digging up body parts. So Victor sends out the monster after her and kills her, and again later on in the movie escapes, gets out of the castle. He keeps him locked up in like a little dungeon down in the basement sort of the thing, and the monster escapes, goes out in a bit of a rampage again, and he ends up getting into this house that he finds in the woods, and there's this young girl, probably no more than 12 years old, and you hear her screaming and the wreckage going on in the house, and the monster walks out of the house again. Doesn't kill her, scares the crap out of her, does hurt her, but she survives. Her father gets her, they escape, run away, they're looking for the police and whatnot. At this point, Frankenstein has been rounded up again by Victor. He's brought back into the castle, and he's in the lab with Frankenstein as the police turn up with the father and a young girl, and they come in, they want to search the place. So of course at this point the monster is up in his lab, nowhere near the basement where he's going to keep him hidden in it, and he tries to hide the monster, injects him to put him to sleep, and he's a very smug character, Frankenstein, in this one. And at this stage, we're very close to the end of the movie. We're mere minutes from it wrapping up, and you're kind of like, how are they going to do away with the monster here, sort of thing? Because you're kind of thinking at this point, this is the point in the movie where they would usually round up the mob, and they would come to the castle, and then they would set fire to something and burn the monster. But while the police are in, they're going to search the place, and Frankenstein is like, you know, I've done nothing wrong. You can't search this place without a warrant. You know, his whole thing is, you know, he's going to use the law to get the police out of the castle that he can hide the monster somewhere. But while he's having the back and forth with the police and the father of this young girl, she's messing about with different things in his lab, and he's like, little girl, stop doing that sort of thing. And she goes over towards the big vat where he gets rid of the body parts, and she's pulling levers and stuff, and she pulls this one that tips all the acid into the thing, and Frankenstein freaks out, but he can say nothing because he knows that's where he was hiding the monster at. So like his whole attempt at stealing body parts and creating the monster, bringing it to life and whatnot, is completely undone in a matter of mere seconds by a small child. And it's poetic justice at the end of the movie, the way it finishes off. And it ends off him climbing up over the vat and looking in, and you see all this acid bubbling and whatnot, then the two big shoes pop up and start floating on the surface. That's where it ends off at, and that is, again, an incredibly vague report on this movie. But it is one that's well worth watching, don't get me wrong, but, you know, I would have liked the character of Victor Frankenstein in this movie to be a little bit more likeable. Even though he has a head case and nut job, just like crazy scientist that you really shouldn't like, but the character of Victor Frankenstein, I feel in a way should have a little bit of something that you can kind of connect to, you know, as him being the actual like lead in the movie. So beyond that, it's a very good film. I would highly recommend it. Go and check it out.